Welcome to Wide Flank.
All right, welcome to Wide Flank. This is the Subnautica episode. If you're tuning in for the first time, we have a video game club where we play a game over the course of a month. We have a Discord where we talk about it and talk about all the fish we're eating and all the plants we're harvesting in the case of Subnautica. So we'll have links to that in the show notes. We also have a Patreon. Thanks to everyone who's supporting us so far. All our patrons are new because we just launched it. So a few shout outs because we're just blowing up right now. Thank you to Aaron, NC, you know who you are, Robert, Jack, Jake, and Bucks County Shane.
Milk.
Our favorite milkman.
Love milk. Yeah, so if you want to support us, it's much appreciated. We'll have links to that in the show notes as well. We don't have our game picked out yet for next month, but we'll put that in after. Alon's amazing at post production.
Thanks.
It'll blend in seamlessly.
Thank you so much.
All right, cool. Danny, you want to talk a little bit about Subnautica?
Yeah. All right. We played Subnautica. All of us played on PC on Steam. It's a single-player survival action game that came out in early access in December 2014. It didn't get its full release until January of 2018. So it's been a long time in early access. Definitely influenced the final product quite a bit. We'll get into that more later. It was developed and published by an indie studio called Unknown Worlds. They were previously known for the natural selection games, 1 and 2, which were this super interesting combo of real-time strategy and first-person shooter, and it was all multiplayer. And then for this game, the devs have said they were heavily influenced or inspired by Minecraft to create a completely different style game from natural selection, and they ended up making one of the most successful indie games ever made. Sold well over 5 million copies. And we played quite a bit of it.
I played exactly 41 hours of it. So there's a few different modes you can choose to play from. We all played on survival mode, which I think is like the standard mode, basically, which means you die, but you don't lose everything or lose your save file or whatever. You kind of go back to your life pod and can continue the story. There's also hardcore mode, which when you die, you fully die and lose your save file. There's freedom mode, which is no oxygen, no hunger or thirst. I believe you still have to breathe, I think, in freedom mode, but you don't have to worry about food and water. And then there's creative mode, which is just, base building simulator, like Minecraft mode. Nothing matters, and you can just build whatever.
Did you mention that I might have missed it, that their first game, Natural Selection, was a Half-Life mod?
I did not know that. So
yeah, so I mean, I think something we've talked about kind of off the show is like how, and maybe we talked about in our Half-Life 2 episode, just like how the mod scene, but especially like the Valve mod scene, has just like spawned so much cool stuff. Like I think they have like I don't know, engines that people like to use or can use or that are accessible, and like I didn't particularly like natural selection, although I thought it was like fun to play, or a fun idea. But clearly, like, it got these guys' gears turning, and they made this studio and were able to make this game, which was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I read the Masters of Doom that I mentioned on the Doom episode, which is the book about, the two main founders of id and the Doom games and all that stuff. And it's kind of cool that you get like a history of gaming and hacking and modding through the book, because that was what gaming just was. Like, that's just what early computing was, and so it's not just that the Valve scene. I mean, a lot of stuff came from that, but it's because it was just like the newest, best engine. That's why good shit came from it, and that's always how it was. It was someone invented something, and then everyone was like, holy shit, and everything was open source and non-copyright, and I'm going to use this to make this and improve on that, and then now that's the new thing, and then someone else improves on that, and that was just like how games were made for a lot of years in the early days, especially on computers. So yeah, I mean they they came from mods, and tons of really famous games came from mods, Counter-Strike and I don't know, Team Fortress and all that stuff.
Yeah, so Charlie Cleveland is definitely the guy who made the lead designer. He's like definitely a design guy. Like I don't know what his position is like at the company, but like I read through his like creative blog, like his designer blog, and he's like really into like theory and all this stuff and like talking through his process. So he kind of I think to like help like set us up, we can kind of like respond to some of these as we do the podcast. When he made Subnautica, he was like, I have 3 pillars of game design for what I want this game to be. So I'll just read them. They're never tell the player what to do. Let them decide. If there's something we want them to do, breadcrumb it. Number 2 was the world doesn't care about the player. The player is a foreigner in an unknowable, majestic alien world. This led to non-violence to creatures in the world. Respect the player and their time. Don't manipulate them through achievements, dopamine, and extrinsic rewards. Give them an amazing, rewarding experience that takes effort.
Fuck you, Charlie.
Yeah, so like this brings up a lot. This brings up a lot of feelings, right? So like, and I think we'll. Yeah, I don't want to. This is probably going to be out of order, but this is you read through this guy's blog, and he is someone who has lots of vision. He seems manic. He seems like someone who doesn't sleep very much and works really hard, and is probably kind, but can't quite deliver on the things he wants to do, or has lots of ideas that don't always land. I really got that vibe of like this creative who doesn't know their own limits. And if they do, it seemed like a little too like businessy, like know your limits or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll come back to each of those.
We'll revisit those for sure.
Yeah. So this, as Danny mentioned, this game came out in early access. So it came out in 2014, fully launched in 2018. So 4 years of development. Something Jonathan Blow talks about, he made Braid and The Witness. There's this talk he gave that I think I linked to in one of our earlier episodes, where the form or the medium dictates the art form and the message. So free-to-play games are designed around free-to-play mechanics and encouraging you to spend money, or like gameplay loops that encourage that rather than like you getting value out of playing. And with early access, I think there's like kind of this potential to you're not releasing a free game, but also your player base. Your player base is people who already own the game and are expecting more content. So not necessarily everything you drop in the game is going to be something that fits in with a new player like us coming along and playing the game. So a year after launch, base building was added to the game. So
wow, what?
Sorry, launch. A year after it
early access.
So yeah, there's a year of the game without any bases. And like to us, it feels a little tacked on.
Yeah. I'm still surprised though, but we'll get into that later. Yeah. Keep going.
2 years in, they add the alien bases. Also, disclaimer: we're gonna spoil the shit out of this game.
Yeah, and every game from here through the end of time. Yeah.
That should be like wide flank spoiler alert.
Yeah,
like,
maybe
I should have named this spoiler alert on my Cyclops.
Or that's a good name for the podcast too. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. We'll A/B test with our humongous audience.
Yeah. Yes.
See what they say. 3 years in, they redesigned the entire Cyclops, which I want to come back to. And 4 years into the game, they added the Empress, the Sea Empress, and the curing yourself. And like right before launch, they added the Neptune rocket to get off the planet. do you guys want to dive into any of these right now, or
I think we'll touch on this as we talk about a lot of the other topics that we know we're going to get into. But also, this is like a bomb. Like, I didn't know any of this, so this is like crazy, and I need to internalize it. So, but maybe let's start with like some of the good stuff about the game and first impressions of the game and stuff like that. I mean, one of my first, it might have been my actual first note as I was playing the game was my first. I'm just reading from my notes right now. My first.
Can I stop you real quick?
Yeah.
Something
Shut
where
up.
we were talking about on this before we started, and I think is going to be a perennial issue for us. But we had this with the Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is like, I like Subnautica and I like Castlevania, but I've found so much to criticize about it. And we were actually talking about Ratatouille recently.
Yes.
And like that's the scene. I was talking about the scene where have you seen Ratatouille, Danny?
Only once, actually.
There's like
a long time.
critic. There's a critic moment where he talks about like critics shit all over everything and they don't have to risk anything, but actually like the one place a critic can like be their most kind and beneficial is in defense of the new. So like I definitely want to spend some time talking about like what is good, because we spent a long time playing this game and a lot of it is enjoyable. So I definitely don't want that to get lost. So yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And listening to people complain for an hour is stupid and boring.
Yeah, mostly for
context.
you guys. For you guys, we're not gonna shit
And
on
just to tack onto that is anytime that an indie developer can take a game from like idea to early access and then to completion that feels like a finished, really clean product, like in gaming, especially now, like I will always have a really big appreciation for that and be really psyched about it, you know? So I definitely feel like this game is like a great example of like a really high quality indie developer with like a huge vision and doing a really great job. So
yeah,
I love it for that, for sure.
That's definitely a good disclaimer too. I mean, this was made in Unity. It's free Unity. Like anyone can download Unity. There's a famous John Carmack quote that's like, you don't need, the best, computers anymore to make games. You just need enough Diet Coke in the fridge and enough pizza. And like, he's like, you can just sleep on your floor and there's infinite resources nowadays to make any game, and like, I always appreciate that. That's definitely good that you said that, Danny. I mean, these guys made a humongous game. Indie, small crew, like, great job. And
yeah, I'm a piece of shit compared to these guys.
I'm a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, like I could never do something like this. So
let's criticize everything they did. So what the note that I was gonna read is, I think my first note from them is, my first taste of the graphics were like, oh my god, this looks like a shitty Fortnite game. I have so many regrets already, and I don't want to play this game. And then you step out of the life pod for the first time and see the ocean and see the crashed spaceship on the planet and see the scale and just hugeness of the planet and the moon. And it was absolute, just like incredible, holy shit moment. This is so amazing already 5 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I probably should have said this at the top, but you're basically swimming around this water planet the whole time, trying to escape the water planet. So you're just a free diver and scuba diver trying to collect fish and do shit in this world. And yeah, I felt the same way. It literally looks like Fortnite. I was like, this is a cartoon. I'm playing like SpongeBob or something at first. But like so quickly, there's like instant awe. Like the planets in the skyline. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so do you want to start? Maybe we'll talk about just keep going with the beauty of the game, or the look of the game and feel.
What do you think, dude? Tell me about the beauty of the game.
I think that the land looked bad. No, just immediately jumped to the negative. No, it looks great. Game looks great. The water looks amazing. It's just I feel like all the time underwater is really beautiful and immersive and awesome.
Yeah, the game is full of really unique biomes in different areas. So, you swim around from. I love the way things fade in. Sometimes it kind of like clips in, but a lot of
Yeah.
times you'll like be swimming into some area and you'll see like a fish off in the distance or some glowing ball, and like you're almost like drawn to it. Like, what is that thing that's off in the distance? And as you get closer, the screen will just fill up with bioluminescent fish or like algae that is glowing in some like multicolored way, or
You get a reef back fading into view.
Yeah.
yeah, like a whale that's also has a coral reef on it. Like
Yeah.
shit like that is just the sound design of all that stuff is incredible. It's really overwhelming in like a good way. It just like it washes over you, and there's like just a ton to take in everywhere you go. And
Totally. Every time you open up the game a little bit more, feels like you're totally in a state of awe, right? You're just like, you go that little bit deeper. You even just the way the light like permeates the water, and less so as you go deeper within the water, and the first time you're in real darkness, and like that kind of stuff is just like executed so flawlessly. And the sense of fear that is with you through the game, even though you get stronger and you've kind of experienced everything at certain points of the game, I still think like that with the light and the sound and that stuff, they still like execute fear in a way that's beautiful to me also, because survival games are very new to me. I've never played anything remotely like this. And yeah, being, alone in the water, and, I'm a freak playing at 5 a.m. and no one I know is awake, and I'm in the dark in real life and I'm in the dark in the game. And I found that I could lose time in this game more than I think any other game we've played on the Gameclub for sure. I mean, I would just blaze through 5 hours, and it's 6 a.m. and the sun's coming up, and I'm like, oh shit, I should probably go to sleep. Even though we have the disclaimer, I have tons of problems with this game and criticisms, but you just kind of get lost in it also, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I think the game does an amazing job of having pretty distinct areas, like the different depths, land versus the surface versus under the surface. It's not like Minecraft where you step over a line and you're in tree biome and then you're in ice biome. There's a really nice fade. You'll get like a steep cliff that takes you down to a darker, more bioluminescent area and things like that. So I think it, like you said, it just kind of, you just kind of like are flowing. You kind of feel yourself like flowing through the world, and yeah, definitely lose time doing so.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing I really loved is very quickly the diving feels really safe and easy. But there are some situations where you can really get yourself like way in over your head, and you can be exploring a wreck or in a cave system and turn around and suddenly realize you don't know how to get out. And it's instant nightmare. It's like, I've had this nightmare so many times, right?
Yeah,
like I can maybe get to the surface, or I'm like in a crash plane. Like I'm getting some breaths from like the top, like the little bit of air in there, unable to find my way out. And it's like, it can turn on a dime, and it's unbelievable how that it triggers that like absolute pure terror in a way that like most games do through like jump scares, or you have like an aliens here, or you don't have a lot of bullets in your gun and a bunch of zombies are coming. And this is just like, you have to navigate this maze that you got yourself into and didn't plan appropriately. And can you get out? And like that, I don't know, just that were able to nail that. Like some of my worst fears of my life was really awesome.
Yeah, the execution of those I want to call them like organic fears because it's real life stuff. It's like a fight or flight sort of, carnal thing that we have within us that they simulate in perfection. I definitely had tons of moments where I'm like, I'm in a cave, my oxygen's down to 12 seconds, and I look behind me and I'm like, wait, and then I look up and it's just cave wall and I'm like, oh fuck, and it's just like, yeah, the instant panic of everything is so good and lasts through the game. I told you guys about my like epic, leave my suit and swim to the ship from 1,000 meters down I was on 4 water. Basically, if you run out of water out of 100 or food out of 100, you also die. And I'm on 4 water, so I'm like going and finding little gel sacks as I go, like total panic that whole time. I was sweating, and it's just like, and that was late game. That was, I'm powerful. I have everything. Like I've uncovered the whole map, etc.
Yeah, I had to swim away from the Sea Empress when I started hatching the eggs because it took me so long to get to them, and I was running out of air, and so I just done it. And as they're hatching, I was like, I've got to go. So I literally missed them coming out. I just swam back to the the portal, went out, and then came right back in, and they were swimming around. I was like, God damn it,
that's so funny.
So yeah, it
do you know about the brain coral? They provide air.
I learned
in this game
in the last hour of playing, I would say.
Literally no idea.
Yeah, so there's this little purple coral that
Yeah.
I don't know if you played Sonic, but like in Sonic, you would like stand on these bubbles that would like come up in the underwater levels, and Sonic would go like bark, bark, and he would get oxygen. So it's kind of like that. You basically the brain coral just like bubble up, and if you swim over the giant air bubbles, you sustain oxygen. So they have one right next to the Sea Empress. So this doesn't happen to you. And I also found out really late game that these do that. Like I just happened to see one in an air bubble, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I can breathe on that. And I was like,
it's a great example of don't tell me how to play. Don't show them how to play the game.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Remember, never tell the player what to do. Breadcrumb it by putting a random fucking coral thing with some bubbles out of it. I'm supposed to know that.
And this probably is a good time to talk about this. But Teddy and I have done a lot of scuba diving.
Yes.
And there's a lot that feels really good and like a really good recreation of a lot of the feelings you get doing it. Definitely some of the scary ones that you two guys were talking about before. And I for the most part, I found that anything that wasn't that realistic or wasn't that great of a remake of real life diving, it was mostly just because it wouldn't really be fun or look good if you had to deal with that. It's like you lose color so quickly as you go down, and this game does it a little bit, like the red kelp forests or the blood kelp forests. Yeah, you can tell they're red, but they're like a pretty maroony, like pretty muted red, and that's the first color you lose as you go underwater is red. So there's definitely like it's very clear that they're trying to stay linked to kind of the real physics of it. But yeah, trying to balance that with, well, yeah, it's not when you get 100 meters down, it'd be pitch black. That's not fun or cool looking. So I found that they struck it pretty well. And the way the sea life kind of just doesn't, some of it notices you. For the most part, it just kind of swims away from you. Like that's pretty, it's kind of amazing when you're scuba diving that things aren't just mortified of you the whole time, or like things will come pretty close, and it's like if you get really close, they'll swim away. So I don't know. I definitely was flashing back to a lot of my scuba diving, and in a positive way.
Yeah, I think this is probably true for so many. Like you see this when people talk about guns, like gun nuts about video games and stuff.
Right.
Oh, like during action movies, or like that guns don't do that, or like, everyone cocks the shotgun, which you that's not how guns work, right? But also like it's fun, right? Like, and I think they did it. Like it's not supposed to be realistic. I mean, unless it is, but this isn't, right? And to a certain extent, and they do a good job of like finding that balance. That being said, you don't use your hands when you're scuba diving, so
yes.
they didn't need to do that.
Well,
that
we
was-
don't.
Well,
Noobs-
yeah,
noobs do.
Yeah, some people do. Yeah,
Re-
maybe this is
us
maybe
rescue
this is your
divers don't.
character's first time in the water.
Yeah,
Totally
that's
could
also
be.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's like,
didn't see
this is
anything
the
in the
best way to
logs.
locomote.
That's why you run out of air so fast. Is because you swim with your arms. Yeah.
This another beauty thing. My last beauty thing that I have written down is also just the scale, which I think is, throughout the game the scale is very. It keeps getting bigger, and you stay the same size, right? Like, so the first time you step out of your ship and you see the ocean, it's holy fuck. And the first time you see the crashed spaceship, which is why you're there, your spaceship got shot down. It's holy fuck. It's so huge. The moon is so huge. And then, like, as you progress through the game and get the ability to go deeper and build pipes and get a bigger O2 tank and get vehicles, the scale keeps scaling, for lack of a better word. Like, the ocean keeps getting bigger than what you think is possible. Like, to a point where I think, maybe they should have limited that a little bit, and it's very overwhelming to me. But it's amazing at the same time, right? And the creatures keep getting bigger. The fish and the alien fish and leviathans are just ridiculously massive, and you feel so small, and which is so cool. I just think it's really cool and well done.
Yeah, I think both of these, yours and my comments there, really tie into that first pillar that you talked about, Teddy, of feeling like, I think it was the first one, but feeling like you're a foreigner on this planet. The creatures around you react to you, but it's very clear that you are not a part of it,
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Jurassic Park 2, Lost World?
No.
Not in so long.
He's one of the characters is like, oh, the dinosaur's not afraid of me, and he's like, well, he has no reason to be. Like, humans have never been to the island. He has no evolutionary adaptation for it. And then he grabs his taser and he electrocutes the dinosaur, and it runs away. And he's like, now it has a reason to fear us.
Oh my god.
Awesome. Oh my God.
That's some character development for you. But yeah, right.
yeah.
Like that. I don't know. That just reminded me of it. But yes, like the creatures often don't care about you, except for the ones that are aggressive and they just like destroy you.
Yeah.
The ones that are aggressive and the farters are the only ones.
Yeah, true.
Did you guys ever get poisoned by the farter whales?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it does
I think
like
early on.
the tiniest bit of damage.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
like, you like cough, like it's
Ooh.
stupid, like, yeah. And then you're like, did I just take damage? And then, you forget about it.
Yeah, the one last thing I was going to say is we talked about the sound, and yeah, they did a great job of mimicking the way sound kind of hits you underwater. Like, if you were to hear a whale call underwater, it would just be everywhere because of the way sound bounces in water. It's like really hard to determine the source of a sound underwater. And whenever there's a reef back, I think that's what they're called in the PDA.
Yeah.
Every time there's a reef back, it was just like in the best way. And then also the sound of the sea glider and the sea moth. I don't know if you've ever used one of those underwater scooters before,
No.
but they sound exactly like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
it was really cool.
amazing.
And also using one of those in real life is so much fun.
Yeah, I want to do it really
I've never done it
badly.
on a dive, only like in a pool, but it's really fun.
That's
Gotta
awesome.
get one.
The sound,
Yeah.
the sound was really good. I mean, the music is sort of a separate discussion, which I don't know. We probably don't have to spend too much time on, but
Yeah.
the sound, like you said, the way it's implemented underwater, but also just the creature. Like, you start to know what's beyond by the sound of the creature. I'm like, oh, it's that thing, or it's the fucking squid alien thing, or it's this leviathan. It's that by just the sound of it, which is really a tough thing to do when there's that many different creatures. And yeah, I thought, like, again, like the execution of the fear, right? When it's dark and you hear something and you know what it is, that doesn't mean it's not scary. It might mean it's more scary because you're like, I don't know how close that is to me, and I just saved, and I might actually not be able to get out of here, which is also really cool.
Yeah, there are a couple times where I was like, oh, what is that sound? Like, I'm pretty sure that's a reef back. but
Yeah.
it's been a while since I heard one. It might be something else.
And I'm pretty deep. I don't know.
Yeah. I think this is a good time as any to mention that, like, I wish this game was the real ocean.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be realistic in terms of like diving, like Danny is saying. I think, it's important to make a fun game, but most people don't know what is on coral reefs, like what kind of creatures are out there. Like every time I scuba dive, I'm like, what is that amazing thing? Like the ocean is so sick, especially coral reefs. And also we don't know what's really deep. Like there are like all kinds of underwater videos of like creatures no one's ever seen before or seen for the first time on like deep oil rigs. Like we find new animals all the time. Like they could take a bunch of, not to mention nobody actually talks about like, I think we know one, like the lanternfish that like lights up the light and eats fish. Yeah, I'm gonna do this.
The Finding Nemo fish.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Or like giant squid. It's either giant or colossal that we've never actually seen.
Yeah,
we know it was there from
alive.
scars on sperm whales and from like body parts and stuff.
Right, like you could do so much like with creative license here. Like we don't know what's down here, but this is what might be down here. But there's a huge codex or a data bank in the game that tells you all about different creatures and plant life, and you can read it if you want to like immerse yourself in the lore, and we can talk like they could have all been real things to learn about. Instead, you're learning about fake things, some of which is interesting, some of which isn't, so that you can blast off the planet and never see them again. It's like kind of a strange. It just seems to me like a huge missed opportunity. Like I like everything they had; it was cool, but like it could have been, I don't know, like educational and awesome, and I would have like actually spent more time like reading everything, and it would have been like, oh, now I can know this shit, and it also is helpful for playing the game.
I don't know if it's called like I'm struggling to come up with a word. It's not historical fiction, but I feel like it's like parallel to that, where it's
science fiction.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like it has to be based on, I want a very accurate real ocean. I don't want it to tell me false facts about, tuna or whatever I'm scanning. But if you also want to incorporate aliens in there because we're on an alien planet, like that's cool. Don't worry, I won't think they're real. Like the way the data bank is split up, it's already split up with like as if the fish are real, the flora fauna is real, but the alien stuff is different. And they could have just done that with real stuff. And like you said, I mean, it really wouldn't have taken anything away from the game, I don't think. And it would have just made me more excited to read all this stuff and learn all this stuff because, I don't know shit about any of that stuff. I know nothing about it.
Yeah, there are. If you think you might be like, well, I don't know, if I saw the fish I normally see in pictures and stuff, then it would be not as immersive to be on this other world. But there are so many reef fish that you have never seen before. And
right.
Like these fish don't, especially the small fish, look exactly like normal fish that you would see on a reef.
Yes.
Like the bladderfish and the hula fish.
Peeper.
I mean, we have angelfish and surgeonfish in real life, like tons of like really weird stuff. So like the peeper, there probably is a fish that has like an eyeball, like moth wing style thing on it, until you get deeper, which you would be less bound by reality if you were mimicking Earth. There's nothing really strange about it. The coral and kelp looks exactly like real coral. Yeah. You've got brain coral, right? That is a real thing, and table coral and stuff. So. Yeah, I thought that was I hadn't thought about how cool it would have been to be learning more about the ocean and aquatic life that actually exists. But now that you've said it, I can't unthink it,
Yeah.
Like Google nudibranch. Well, maybe we'll put it in show notes because it's hard to spell. But it's like NUDABRINCH. It's like all the flatworms and stuff. Like I think like so many of them are undocumented.
What the hell?
And
is
they all
this?
just look incredible, right? Like that's all in the ocean.
Yeah.
And they're just
Yeah.
like the coolest things ever. So yeah.
Basically, one of my notes, it's just like deep ocean equals space. I'm just like,
Yeah,
and
for
like you
sure.
experience that in this game. It's like, oh, the game decided to put aliens in the deep ocean. There could be. We know nothing about it. Just in not dissimilar ways to sci-fi, just being like, there's aliens on Mars, and I'm like, could be. I don't know.
Yeah, I've always
that's
described
that's a great point.
I've always described night diving as like the closest thing to going to space because there's no color, there's no like visual cue that you're underwater when you're on a night dive
Oh,
because you
crazy.
can't really
I've never
see
thought
you
about
can't really
that.
see the water, and so it's like, and the coral looks like moon rock, especially with no color. So it's I often think about how it might as well be space when it's in certain contexts. So
That's scuba diving at night is the best thing I've ever done. Top
Wow.
experiences. So
I gotta get on that.
Yeah,
It's a different kind of game club.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is also kind of weird that there are certain things like the shallow water coral starts to disappear as you get deeper and replaced by very different flora, and that is all there's a very realistic way that it happens. So there's a lot of the mimicry of our oceans is cool, but also it does kind of make you wonder why even bother with making it entirely alien,
Maybe it was copyrighted or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now it is, but this kind of leads me into a bigger topic that I know we're going to get to anyway, which is just like, what is a survival game? What is an open world game? What does that mean, really? Because, open world to me basically means the story may not matter. Like you can make it matter as much or as little as you want, and you can just free explore and just have fun. And if the world's cool enough to, keep you entertained, then cool. You can just play GTA and never do the plot and just work on your car and just like make money and like cool. That's fun, And just by talking about it even now, I'm just getting like, I'm bummed that it wasn't the real ocean and I couldn't just be spending more time in the real ocean, learning more. I feel like it would have been even more of an open world feeling to me, not versus what my actual experience was, which was like, I need to figure out the story. Like I would have spent more time like base building and learning and scanning and reading all this stuff if it was real, I think,
Yeah.
So which end of that do you want to tackle first? Do you want to talk about genre, or do you want to talk about kind of the lore, maybe kind of the lore and the story?
Let's talk about the kind of game, because I think that'll come out of it. So
Yeah.
The game wasn't a survival game when it was first created. Like it wasn't up the plan. He says this. He came up with the idea because someone. And, well, he didn't come up with it. Someone on Reddit said, why is this a survival game without health and
hunger and thirst and stuff?
Yeah. Or it only had health, right? It didn't have thirst and hunger. And he was like, oh yeah, I guess I should make this like a full survival game. Right. Which, not to say that's like necessarily bad, but it wasn't initially envisioned as a survival game. His like kind of idea for this was like Minecraft in water.
Okay.
Which Minecraft is kind of a survival game also.
It didn't have hunger originally, probably when this game was made. So it was it probably met the same qualifications for survival as Minecraft, which is there is a way to die.
Yeah. What's a survival? And Teddy, I feel like this is your wheelhouse. Like this is, you play survival games, you love survival games. Like I'm new to this entire experience. I don't really know what a survival game is supposed to be or what like a great survival game feels like or does for you.
Yeah, so I mean, at base, and a lot of criticisms people will levy is survival games are just meter management. So you're just making sure your thirst is high or your food is high, and like don't run. If your food is out of 50 and it gets down to 10, you need to eat, or bad things start happening. But the games are all about everything in between that, right? And that's why I think to like say their meter management is like kind of stupid. It's like saying like Mario is about like how tall you are. It's like not about that at all, right? That's
Mario's
so,
about
like,
coins.
Yeah, right. If you take damage, you get shorter, so you just got to stay tall. This game's stupid. But
Ableist.
yeah, what the fuck? But I would say like really good intense ones are ones that are constantly expecting you to plan for all kinds of situations. They're like forcing you to make sacrifices. So like I just found this cache of items. What do I take? What do I leave behind? It's getting dark soon. Do I go back now? All questions that need to be made like quickly usually, and often both have downsides. So you're making lots of sacrifices, and you have to learn some of the mechanics of the game, obviously, but a lot of it's often based in reality like this. You have to eat, you have to drink. And so they're like the moment you talk about is like escaping the deeps with 4 health, trying to like kill fish along the way. Like that's so much of like The Long Dark, which is like one of my favorite games of all time. It's just like a blizzard wilderness, and you're like, you step outside to go get food, and then like a snowstorm comes, and you're like walking super slow, and you're like, okay, do I stop and make a fire because I'm about to get hypothermia, or to like try and get food? Like maybe I should sit by the fire for a while so I can walk faster. Like there's just like so many. It's just like always like, oh my god, I'm about to die. All this amazing, like horrible shit's happening, but it makes everything so exciting and meaningful. This game the survival aspect is so easy, and actually reading the patch notes, they continued to make the game easier.
Oh, that's
so like
interesting.
The oxygen depletion went down. I forget what else they changed, but there are like multiple things where they definitely like make the game easier. And I assume that's because a lot of people, or some people in the community, are like, this is stupid, this is hard. And like, you're dealing with tens, hundreds of thousands of people who paid money for your game. Like, it's kind of hard to, be like, no, you're wrong, right? Like,
try again.
Maybe, yeah. And this is like one of those other issues, like potentially with early access. Like, obviously, this could happen in playtesting behind closed doors. But I think what we are left with is a game that basically shouldn't be survival, right? In my opinion, you're always at full health and full water. Like the only time it's low is like because you're being lazy, not because like very rarely are you in a situation where like you have one really awesome story, which is awesome, but like
1 out of 41 hours, well, more because, sometimes you have to go back to your save. So probably 45 hours of playing. There was one time where I was like, I have no water and I'm nowhere near my base and I need to get home. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Danny.
Yeah, I was just going to say about these particular meters is in so many games, there are a lot of trade-offs you make, even when you're addressing this, right? Like I expected there to be more trade-offs, especially with the variation, the types of fish, and we're just reading the descriptions as like, oh, this one's like odorous. Am I going to lose health when I eat it? Or maybe it'll give me hunger now, but I'll drain it faster later. Things like that. And like the filtered water versus the purified or whatever it is. Like I thought there would be some kind of other mechanic behind the scenes that they would influence. But it really is just like how much food you get and how much water you get from it. So yeah, it does really feel like it was just kind of tacked on. And there doesn't seem like there was that much interest in making it a really deep, engaging part of the game.
Yeah, like we just played the Green Hell, or some of the Green Hell. We're still playing it, Amazon survival game, and like Madeline touched a poison dart frog, like picked it up, and like was really badly like poisoned. Like her health was going down and stuff, but she survived. And then Danny ate the poison dart frog, and would just spend like the next like 2 in-game days puking and like dehydrated. like clearly
That's
did something really
awesome.
stupid and like is now. I think I don't think did you die, Danny? But yeah, it was just like
I think I did. Yeah.
yeah, like nothing comes close to happening like
Yeah.
that in this game, and
Also,
which
the
is,
cost of death is very low in this game.
Yeah.
In
And
fact,
you
it's
can
basically
save-
non-existent.
You save nonstop.
Save
Like, you
nonstop,
can
but
save
also
at
you
any
could
point.
be if you're at the bottom of the ocean and you got like you got a ruby and you die, you respawn in your Cyclops or in your life pod or wherever with the ruby.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's a strange combination of survival mechanics without the game built around it.
Mm.
I have this note that I wasn't sure how it would work in, but this is a good opportunity, which is like save scumming. Like I basically like before I would go down really deep to an area I hadn't explored, I'd save right at the top, go straight down, figure out like get the area like understood, and then like die often, and then just reload because like
Yeah.
I found the game. The oxygen mechanic is like so. Otherwise, it's just like so cruel to explore new areas, especially deep
Yeah.
areas. So it's like it's survival in like very specific moments. Otherwise, you're always fine.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, basically what you're telling me is they touched on a lot of the survival game things, but they didn't really commit to it. And therefore, I would describe this game more as meter management than survival, because that
Right.
really is what it is in
Right,
this game.
right.
It's just, my food's at 40, I'll eat a peeper. Okay.
Yep.
Pop a
Don't have to
peeper.
think about that until my food gets low again. My hunger gets low again. Oh, my oxygen's low. They tell me over my AI thing tells me, okay, go into my ship. Okay, it's full. Okay, back.
Yep.
It's just like a stupid, annoying thing. Not really survival.
The survival mechanics clash with what I see people online describing the game as and what the game feels like, which is this immersive exploration,
Right.
like otherworldly game. And part of that is, if you play Minecraft, you can go to a new biome far away from, and it's really easy to build the basic tools you need to just keep your hunger meter up, and in this game, you're just if you're not prepared, you just are constantly interrupting that exploration process. It sounds like you guys didn't have many problems with your meter management, which, as you can see from this screenshot, I definitely did have problems.
God.
Where do I see the screenshot?
My Zoom background.
His background on Zoom. His food and water is like 5.
Yeah, I was low all the time, so I was constantly having to go back to my life pod or Cyclops or whatever to cook whatever I just grabbed. So, yeah, I just
Well, you don't
it was
plan very well
strange.
with
Right,
anything.
right.
Dave.
That's what I was
Exactly.
gonna say. You're kind of
Exactly.
you're the young gun here. You just get me in my ship. I'm out of here. Me and Teddy are like, I gotta prepare for a long journey. I may never return.
Yeah, I'm literally shoving my Cyclops through holes that is definitely not coded to fit through. Just get me down there. This thing's coming all the way to the Sea Empress.
So good.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess it's a survival game, but I think it leans much more to the action adventure genre than it does to,
I think
or exploration than it does survival.
And then that segues really nicely to the other part of it, right? Which was the open world part. Which
Sorry.
everything you were saying is what I read also of reviews and people on Twitch and YouTube. Oh my God, the exploration, the joy of exploring and discovering new things. And I felt those joys and it was really cool, like we already covered. But there is a story and there is a line of progression, and the plot is gated until you do certain things. The plot is gated until you find the right things. He in the making of Subnautica, this like YouTube video I watched, he said we didn't want quests, and the writer said we want a story that works in an order, sort of, but not completely. Well, there are quests, and the story is in order. You can't do stuff until you find the right tool. You can't go deeper until you build the right thing, which you need the right resource for. And I just felt, like you said, it clashed. the idea of an exploration, like beautiful game clash with survival. I also felt that way with calling it an open world and calling it an exploration game, where no, there's these things. I'm getting regular radio calls that tell me what to do. Don't tell a player what to do. Respect their time. You're telling me exactly what to do. You're putting it on my map and with a giant countdown at the top of the screen until I get there. And so I didn't feel that it was actually open world at all. Even though, yes, you can technically swim anywhere, you're constantly sort of reminded and, I guess, breadcrumbed, but not really breadcrumb. You're like feeling bad if you're not progressing the story, or at least, that's how I feel.
Yeah, and I have this written down that the game doesn't have enough going on when you're not pursuing the main quest or radio transmissions to encourage you to just wander for no reason. In Sky, an example of this being Skyrim, you can just be walking between cities and an assassin will, because you committed a crime somewhere or you killed someone, will be coming to take vengeance. You'll have to fight him, or a courier will come bring you a letter and it's something you have to do. And, you'll come across all these crazy things. In GTA, there'll be someone's getting robbed and you can intervene if you want. There's like all these things to kind of fill that space. And this game is just, it's like either you're doing the main quest or you're just doing nothing, and kind of taking it all in. Which I'm definitely aware that there are a lot of people who play this game that love it for that. They love being able to just get lost and kind of close their eyes and enjoy everything that's happening. But for a game, I don't know. I don't want Planet Earth or like Nat Geo. The Nat Geo experience,
or make it that, in my opinion, right?
Yes,
like I've played games like that, right? Like all the loops are kind of broken and they kind of clash. Like going to build a new base in a new area in Minecraft takes 2 minutes, right? And you can have it stocked with all the basics you need to explore that whole area. In this game, it takes 45 minutes to build the room you need, bring all the equipment with you. You have a small inventory, right? If they want to make it even grindy, you'll have to go get resources all the time. Make that the game. I play games like that and I love it. Don't Starve is just grinding away. Lots of games are like that, and it just seems all over the place. Having to go from one end of the map to then realize you have to go to the other end of the map in this game is just oh, fuck. God damn it. Or to need some mineral you can't find is just brutal. And,
right. And that's what I mean, right? It's there's no quests and the story is not, well, if I can't find magnemite or whatever, and I need to go deeper, well, I'm fucked. I can't play your game. So, right, it's you're in between all these different genres and you're not committing to any of them. And one of the stream of consciousness notes that I put in our Discord is me. I literally wrote, I guess I'll keep surviving because that's what I'm supposed to do. Because I got to a point in the game where, I don't know, it's been 15 hours since I got a radio transmission. So no idea what to do. And story-wise, I guess I'll just survive. And I was just I'm loosely progressing the story. I'm sometimes finding new things, but I'm also finding majority old things, and I'm mostly just doing shit that I've just eating the same fish. Like you said, the stats of the fish that you eat don't really change, right? And on that note, you can also, and I'm touching on many different things right now, but another topic that I had written down is about teaching you how to play the game, and I feel like we've talked about that in all the Gameclub episodes so far. But really, it kind of teaches you once you figure out that the whole story and progression of the game is basically via the scanner. You have to scan everything to get it into your codex and data bank, and that progresses stuff. It teaches you to scan everything, grab everything, try and interact with everything. But the only fish you can eat for the entire game are the small ones. Killing a big fish does absolutely nothing. It just dies. You can't interact with it. You can't eat it. You can't use it for resources. It's just useless. Like, there's tons of stuff that you just can't scan. You can't grab. You can't kill. You can't do anything. And like, yeah.
Yeah, this is a pet peeve of mine in games in general. What is flavor and what is mechanics oriented or like inventory oriented? Like, especially with a survival game, like, can I pick up this plant, or is it, and you have to go up to it and it's like, nope, this is just something someone designed in Unity to look good. Like, it's not an item for you. Like, don't like, just look at this, right? It's like a really weird experience. Like, that's, I understand like games have to make sacrifices and like they can't do that, but it's just like, it doesn't. A lot of games have this issue, but it doesn't feel great. And the other thing that I think is really important here is like they teach you to scan, they teach you to use the codex, right, or data bank. So like, okay, this mineral is found in the shallows in these kinds of deposits, right? Like copper is found here.
Yeah.
Late game, they're like, you need something, right? Like magnetite or kyanite or something. And you like look at your data bank and it literally says, this is super important for high level crafting. Right? It's like, are you making fun of me? Like, are you fucking with me right now? Like, I know, like, that's literally why I'm here. Like, I'm trying to advance the game. Like, please I'm doing everything right that you've taught me how to do. And you're like, you're laughing at me.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I don't know what, like, is it because they don't want to reveal it and they want you to have to find it? Is it a meta joke? Like, no, it's like, it's bad. It's bad design.
It's just bad. It's just bad. And that's what I meant with the teaching you how to play, right? They do a good job early game. That's another thing that I think, we have to mix in some of the good. Like, I think early game, they actually do a very good job teaching you how to play. Like I don't know what to call it, tutorial phase or something like that, right? They teach you, this is how you get food. This is how you fabricate stuff. This is how you find resources. This is how you interact with the wildlife around you and learn. And this is how you progress the story. And this is what happens with your data bank and when you run out of oxygen and when you're low on food and like all that stuff. And then it just seemed like as the game grew, and maybe this is partially an early access thing, but as the scope grew exponentially, you have to unlearn all of the things that the game taught you to do. You can't scan this, or you're scanning shit from the very beginning of the game, even though you're 1,000 meters deep and 30 hours into the game. And this is similar to a Castlevania complaint that I had, where you're also teaching me to very meticulously go through everything. And if I miss it, I might be fucked and I can't continue the game. So every single wreck, every single anything that I'm in, I'm literally combing it with my flashlight. I'm trying to scan everything. And
usually you do it 3 times because you're like, I missed something.
300 times, because there's my all-knowing God AI databank is incapable of drawing a 2D map. So I have no idea where I've been, where I haven't been. And that's the thing that it teaches you. It's never worth assuming you've been there, because that's how you miss an essential tool that you need to progress the game. And then you just, fuck, I just have to fucking comb this. I'm pretty sure I was here, but I'm not 100% sure. I have to comb through it, scan everything. I've already scanned all this shit. I can't interact with any of these fish. Fuck. And you move on.
And this ties back in what we were just talking about, or what I was just saying, where retracing your steps feels really bad.
So
because
bad.
There's nothing new or unique or exciting about going back to the area next to the Aurora. It's like, after you have that first experience having a Reaper Leviathan grab you, which is awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, like
unreal.
It is. You just go back and you're like, now I just have to dodge this, dodge the Reaper Leviathan. I got to leave my sea. I'm probably going to lose my sea moth again. And I'm just scanning. I'm just going to finding as many piles. And I'm like, and then I found myself asking like, am I too deep now? Does this mean I just won't find any pieces anymore?
Yep.
Like, am I just going to find laser cutter fragments? Like, am I in the wrong area now? Because so much of the game is built around very specific locations where things are. Like, if you venture too far from the wreck, you're not going to find anything. Or like a life pod, you're not going to find anything. So I'm like, have I crossed the game design line? You know, I'm not finding myself being like, does it make sense that something could be over here in like an immersive way? It's very much like, did they put something over here? You know, not like, could it have exploded and landed over here? So,
Right.
yeah, there was one thing I just kept thinking about is like, I cannot go back to the Aurora. I do not want to climb up and run around on that and
Awful.
have the crabs glitching out and jumping on me. Which, you know, in Skyrim or GTA, you go back to the same places all the time and crazy shit is happening all the time. And it's just always really fun to be in the world, no matter where you are. So, yeah.
So going back to the design process for this, or the release of this, they would release an area with all the creatures and everything in it. And that would be like the update for the next 3 months. So, you know, you have this in early access, you get, you know, it's a patchwork grid of biomes, which, you know, is cool, but like they would basically just add one, and then all the players playing early access would go, they know it's the new one, they scan everything, they learn everything, and then, I don't know, they probably stop playing, or they build a base and they just mess around because that's all there is to do in the game. And so like by the time, you know, the 10th biome comes, it doesn't matter that it's in the middle of all these other ones and you don't know, like, you've been to all these other places, you just beeline it for that and you explore it. But for us who like have never played this game before, it's chaos, right? There's so much stuff you're wanting to do. Am I doing this right? And I do think this is like one of these problems with like the way it was released and the way like content keeps dripping out of it.
It's a limitations thing also, right? So, and which it goes hand in hand with how they did it. I don't think if this came out as one complete game, maybe it wouldn't have been as big, and it surely wouldn't have been as confusing. And I definitely had what you had, Danny, several times in the game where I was like, oh, I did it out of order. I'm too deep. I need to like pretend I don't have this depth to go find the thing that I think I was supposed to get earlier.
Right.
Which is so bad. And just, if you want to talk about this as an immersive, amazing, exploratory feeling, well, that's one way to completely remove any immersion, is like thinking about how the game designers maybe wanted me to play this instead of just playing it. And yeah, I mean, I do think the game is missing limitations, right? I mean, if we're comparing it to something like Castlevania, which is, you know, much older and much smaller in general, but you kind of similarly like don't really know what to do. You just have to cruise around and explore and go to areas you haven't been. But there's you're within the castle no matter what, right? There's a castle. That's your entire universe, and there's a map to that castle. So you have like the black area you haven't been to, but it's more like digestible to look at that and be like, okay, I'm pretty sure I just need to go to that room for the thing that I don't have or whatever. But, you know, with no map or anything like that, I mean, I ended up with 35, 40 beacons around this 5,000 kilometer ocean that goes 2,000 meters deep. Like, I still didn't have any of it covered, really. You know, there's so much that I probably never went to because it's just overwhelmingly big. And I think not limiting themselves in that regard like actually hurt the game, even though, you know, the scale looks cool and feels cool. It didn't. The game is like a mess, sort of.
Well, and if it's bigger, that's fine as long as you don't need to go, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't have a problem with it being 3 times as big. Like that would be amazing, in fact.
Yeah.
But like the problem is the game's teaching you like go all these places. You need to do this. You need to scan this. You need to find this, and it's like. And you're like, have I been here? What is it? What like what? You know, all these problems we've talked about.
I do want to say that I think the execution, not the execution. how they went about presenting the story, I think, was really cool and unique to me, which is like get a radio transmission that basically, usually the radio transmission tells you where another crashed life pod is from your spaceship, your other passengers from the ship. You go there, you you pick up their like black box essentially with like their data on it and sometimes a voice recording. And I think that was like really cool and well acted and well written stuff about like, and that's kind of how you like even figure out there is a story. You don't even know there is a story until you start like piecing those together. And, at one point you go to this island and there's a survivors from 10 years earlier, human survivors from 10 years earlier, and you find their data logs and their voice logs, and I think it's really cool and really interesting, and I was definitely engaged, but everything, it's like all of these separate teams and separate things within the game seemed like they work completely independently, and then we're just like, all right, smash everything together, this is the final product,
And then there's that all that good stuff is like 10 hours. And then like there's so much punctuation of monotony. The other thing I want to say is like where we're all kind of leading to, and I did a little bit of this, is look stuff up online. Like the game is begging you to do that. And like I really, especially like as I get older, I like really don't want to play games where you have to do that. Like I just couldn't, it's like, it's either in order to play this game well on its own terms, you have to spend so much time. It's like kind of cruel in some ways, and if you don't want to do that,
respect the player and the time.
Yeah, right. It's like it's a joke, right? He like they definitely don't respect the player and the time, and if you don't do that, it's just like paint by numbers, right? Which we talked about before, right? It's look it up on the wiki, like go there and do it. It's like, why am I even playing this game then, right? Like, in order to build the drill arm, which I thought I needed, I like looked it up and, also the orange tablet. So like, so this is the other thing, breadcrumb the game, right? So like a lot of the stuff is breadcrumbed, but then there's like literally a hard gate. There's actually a barrier wall where you get to the deepest part of the game, like the last room in the game, right? It's the alien base, like how you're going to solve the game, save the world. And you can't get in unless you have a special tablet, the orange tablet. I've never seen one, or blue. I've never seen a blue tablet. I've only seen purple tablets. I played the game for 45 hours. I've never, like, what? Like, I can't. Are you joking? Like literally a key card?
And we both have that. I know, Danny, you didn't experience that. You
king of tablets.
Yeah, you're a tablet god. But like it's insane that we both experienced the exact same order of events and ended up in the deepest part of the game and the final thing, the fucking ending. And you kind of have that feeling too, right? Of this is the end. Like I'm doing it. How many times did I message you guys in the thread? Like, I'm pretty sure I'm really close to beating the game. And then you get there.
Yeah, so I'm in my prawn suit. Finally, I see this thing in the distance, or this lava room. The Leviathan, the dragon Leviathan grabs me, throws me into the lava pit. I barely survive, and I stumble along across the base. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is it. Like this is what I've been waiting for. Like, I know it. And like it was just so awesome. It was all the things in the game working, right? Like I was exploring. I was just like, oh, I'm just going to mine some minerals, whatever. I'm going to go back to my Cyclops. It'll be fine. Then I'm like, I'm going to die. Oh my God, what's this creature? And then you need a key card to enter the final area of the base. It's like the biggest what's the buzzkill? Yeah, buzzkill. It's the biggest buzzkill. I was like, God damn. So I looked it up after like searching for it for 3 hours. Like, that's not fun.
Yeah, there's also like 3 moments at the end of the game like that. It's like I didn't experience that because I had already gotten because I'd already used a blue tablet for another room. And so then I'd already found 2 blue tablets. And I think I didn't even think to keep it with me. I just had it in my inventory by chance. and hadn't gotten rid of it.
To
so
be
you do
young, to be young and dumb. Holy
Yeah.
shit! Me and Teddy meticulously prepare for our final journey into the lava pit where we've never been before, and get fucked. And Danny's just like, I guess I'll fucking go down here.
I'm swinging around in my prawn suit. I was literally like grappling the manta rays and swinging around. I'm just like, get me the fuck in here, boys.
Oh shit!
But so then you get through that, and then you meet the Sea Empress, and it's this crazy scene, and then she's talking to you, and then go fetch all the pieces you need to do this. And it's like, oh, okay. Some of them I've seen before, some of them I haven't. You go do that, spend a couple hours doing that, and then you come back. There's just like, then you have to make the launch platform, and then you have to make the rocket.
Yeah.
But the game has kind of felt like it was about to end for hours.
Yeah.
And they keep kind of just like, hey, no, you're going to have to go explore a little more. You know, it's like, yeah. So I still got a little taste of that for sure.
All of these things are added, by the way, in separate content updates.
Well, I was going to say it feels exactly like that. I mean, you said at the beginning, 4 years in, they added the Sea Empress and curing yourself, and then right before launch, they added the rocket. I have a hand-drawn map on my notepad of the Sea Empress room, or like dungeon, whatever you want to call it, and where all the teleporters lead. Because I had already found all the teleporters and beaconed all of them. So I had them all labeled with like alien zone, like fucking weird zone, you know, like whatever they're called. And so I had it all mapped out on my notepad. This game, I'm easily 45 hours into the game at this point. They tell you, yeah, you need to find these 5 things. Okay. Not a coincidence. There's one of them is in the Sea Empress area, and the other 4 are directly outside of all 4 teleporters that's in the base. Like the most like basic, this is how you play a video game thing you could ever possibly think of. That they were just like, this is the end of the game. Do this super A to A, B to B, C to C, and D to D thing. Use your fabricator. Congratulations, you beat the game. I'm just like, what?
Like that could have been the first thing you crafted in the game. Like it could have been. Yeah.
What is this? Like I haven't used my knife in 40 hours. Now I have to like go and get these stupid ass plants. This is the cure. Like what? What are you talking about?
So they know better, and so let me read you this quote from Charlie.
Okay.
Is that his name?
Yeah,
I think
so.
that's what he said. Yeah.
So they revamped the Cyclops 3 years in. So we had long considered its main purpose was as a gate. So,
oh God.
There you go. Problem.
This is Hideo Kojima talking right now.
There was no other way to get to the deeper depths required to beat the game, but driving a clunky bus for hours at a time just to surpass a gate was tedious. We had already built the world with this pacing in mind and already released it, so we didn't want to rework the basics or remove it entirely. But we knew there must be a way to make it a nicer experience. So, like, we can't walk back the shit we've made, but we want to make it better with what exists, which is like not like I feel like if they were really brave, they would just be like, we're going to delete a bunch of the content we made and redesign some of the game.
It's sunk cost, right? Or something. It's it's sunk cost fallacy.
Or people be like, oh, I love this part. Like, why'd you get rid of it? It's like,
because we're making a final product. We're not appeasing to you. Yeah.
But
Reddit's a scary place, so you know,
true,
I don't blame them. So the Cyclops didn't do anything before this. It was just like it was basically the sea moth. So, and I'll add this in show notes as well. But they basically have the like inspiration is like this clip from Hunt for Red October and like U571 of like the anxiety of like a torpedo bearing down on you and the radar beeping. And so they added the repairing the ship, the holes in the side. They added the fires. They added like the radar of like when ship like enemy like Leviathans are nearby.
Yeah.
And they actually managed to do this with the Cyclops. Like even though it is a clunky bus and it feels like kind of bad to drive, you get that feeling of like, I don't know, I'm driving, there's like insane shit going on, like I better like drive really quietly so nobody hears
flick
me.
on silent, kill the lights, like
yeah, and like I'm gonna turn the floodlights off before I go out. Just like all this cool, they turn the Cyclops into this, which is a gate, but like actually is this whole fun experience.
Yeah.
And I think so much of the game needed that, and they didn't do it right. And they realized it with the Cyclops, but like, it sucks for players to have to go find an orange or blue tablet, but
too late.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess they just that is bizarre. I'm glad that you found all this stuff because they just sort of layered everything on top of itself for, I guess, 6 years of development or whatever it was, 4 years, 5 years. But yeah, and then the one thing they decided to rework is like one of the cooler things in the game. Like, Danny, I know you loved your Cyclops, and it's the background on your Zoom right now. Like, it's really cool. It's really well executed, even though it is clunky, you know?
Yeah, no, I did love the Cyclops, and I've been trying to figure out why, and that like description, like the Hunt for the Red October, is I loved when I was getting attacked and I had to run and put out the fire and then swim outside and repair and stuff, and so it makes you wonder how many other things could have been twice as fun,
or cut, or
right.
Yeah.
I think this leads into, and I think there might be some disagreement, but making the game multiplayer.
Oh, okay.
So I was just thinking that. So,
and there are so many things where this applies, but like, do you want to talk, Alon? Why wouldn't this game be good multiplayer?
Well, I actually wanted you to start because
I'll start.
The reason why is because I don't have experience in these types of survival-y games, and I've never played Minecraft. So I want to hear about like what's great about the multiplayer experience, because my only experience is this, which is very like solitary, and like much like I was saying at the beginning, like I'm in the ocean in the game and it's dark and crazy, but it's also 5 a.m. and I'm the only one in my apartment, and like I felt connected in those moments, but I just don't really know what. I feel like I would get taken out of that more than I would get stuff added with the multiplayer features. So I'm just curious,
I think that's a valid concern, and like I do think some of these moments would have been, diminished to a certain extent, like the fear of finding something just by yourself, and like the quiet, hearing the sounds. Like there are a lot of experiences that I think are made scarier, or you can connect more with because there's no one else to talk to, and everything. And the game's kind of like you're the last survivor on an island.
Like there's that, and like even like the hypnotizing moments. I don't know what it's called, where the you find out it's the Sea Empress later, but you don't know what the hell's happening. Like your screen just gets taken over, and this heavenly voice is speaking to you in like a sort of like vague, cool way. Like you said, I feel like those types of moments that I thought were really well executed and cool and kind of scary and creepy were like, those are best alone. But what would be the best parts of making it multiplayer? What would be the best things about making it co-op? Because I know both of you guys feel this way.
Yeah, so first I would say that I think horror games are made worse by co-op. Or at least it really makes them not horror games. I don't think I've ever been scared playing a co-op game with someone else. But I'm like too scared to play Amnesia. Like I literally can't play it alone at night. Me
too. I've never finished it because it's so scary.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And so some people consider Subnautica to be survival horror.
Yeah.
And so I guess if you really think it leans into that, then yeah, I think that would be spoiled by it. But to me, the way the game felt, like when the Reaper Leviathan grabs me, it's more of like a, what is going on? Like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
Not like a, like, I gotta get out of here,
Yeah.
which to me, it would have been like if Teddy was sitting, like if we were in Discord and like you look and see my sea moth just getting shaken around. It'd be like so crazy and really funny. And that's what it played more like that for me. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and my bias is just I think every game is more fun co-op. And it would just be, it's like amazing in Minecraft or Don't Starve together to leave your base to go gather resources, and you come back and Jacob has built this like amazing new thing. Like there's an observatory in your back, and you know, you've got all these great like parallel, I don't know, a lot of like parallel things happening at the same time. And so I don't know, I just found myself being like, man, I really wish, and the Cyclops is the best example of this, is like, I really wish I was piloting and, you know, Teddy is like, turn off the fucking lights while he's fire extinguishing the engine. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of like these clashing aspects of the game where the Cyclops feels like it's built for co-op, and
Right.
it feels like you're in Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, which is a game, a co-op game, and but you have to do it alone.
It's funny that this all circles sort of back to the what is this game, and simultaneously they don't know what they are, because like you said, like some people, this is a pure horror game and it's so scary. I'm too scared to go deep. You know, I'm gonna die, and there's aliens and they're teleporting and it's fucking crazy. And that would change if you think it should be solo or co-op, which is interesting. What about you, Teddy?
So some of these moments would also be awesome. Like, Danny, you will not believe what just happened to me. Like, or, you know, me and Alon were doing this thing, and like this it ate the sea moth and blew it up. Like, Danny'd be like, what? It's like what did it look like? And we were like trying to describe it. Like, it kind of, it definitely changes the tone, but in my mind, it is like just more. There is also element of wonder and excitement to it. I don't know if you've ever played Dead Space or know what it is. It's a third-person survival horror game in space.
I've heard of
action.
it, but I don't know.
Action.
Action horror. The first two games are solo, and the third game is co-op. And one of the like things is like the aliens you're interacting with make people go insane. And Danny and I played it together. We actually set it up in the living room with two TVs back to back. So
Oh
we're playing on other side of each other because you can't play on the same console. And Danny's character is starting to kind of lose his mind. Like, he's hearing voices, and Danny's like, did you hear that like birthday song? And I'm like, what? He's like, did you hear this birthday song? Like, and I don't know, his character is losing his mind. I'm like, what do you mean? Or then he says something like, do you see all these like dolls everywhere? And I'm like, what? And like I kind of ignore him or something.
Yeah.
And then he's literally at a certain point in the game, he's like, oh my God, they're all around me. He's like, get them. He's like, why are you shooting? And like there's literally nothing happening, and he's running around this area shooting and doing all this stuff. And like, and then we realize like, oh, Danny's character is losing his mind. And like Danny tells me like, oh, my wife's been talking to me. Like all this weird shit's been going on. I thought you heard this too. And like him like talking to me about the insane shit that's happening to him, and me just like hearing about it in the moment is like so. I mean, that's a special circumstance. Like they did it really well, but that I think could have been fun here too. And the other thing is the grind. I just think would be way better. Like, okay, I'm gonna go do this one thing. Like, you stay here and build the base.
Right.
You go do this. Like, divide and conquer. Like, I enjoy this part of the game. Like, you know, Madeline like would be like, I'm not going near the deep water, you know, or like,
right.
I'm just exploring the shallows. I love collecting stuff. And
You guys are talking me into it.
it would just, a lot of this stuff wouldn't feel as bad. Like, I have to do every single thing. I have to go back here. I have to do this. Like, it's just so inefficient. And there's the other thing is there's so much downtime, right? So
Yeah.
we could just spend this shooting the shit, right? Like talking about stuff, right?
Yeah,
and like
just
and then
hang out
and then
as
and then
friends.
and then swimming, like talking about work or something, and then swimming 500 meters in the ocean doesn't matter because like we're having fun.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
like
cool shit happens.
looting in a battle
Exactly.
royale
It's
together.
It's
or
like the
whatever.
first half of a PUBG game. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm just imagining some moments. Like I'm imagining dropping you off in a prawn suit and like going to collect my own stuff, and you're like, you gotta pick me up. Like I'm about to die of dehydration, and so I like am full speed Cyclops coming back to you to open the bay door for you, and
Yeah.
the engine sets on fire because I'm driving too fast.
Like keep going,
just,
Danny. Like
stuff
I'll put
that.
it out when I get on the ship.
Yeah.
And like that moment that I showed you the clip of, Alon, I have this clip. I'll post it. I'll put it on
so
social
amazing.
media and stuff now that
So
we're
amazing.
recording this episode. But it was my first time basically going to the edge of the game. And I literally just gotten the PDA update, like Crater's Edge, where it tells you you're about to hit the edge of the game because you're like in this volcanic crater or whatever. And so I opened my PDA to read it. And as soon as I open it and I'm looking at it, I'm in my Seamoth at the surface, I just get launched in the air. I don't know.
So high.
Yeah, so high. And it's like in the background of the PDA, and I like close them like, did my game just glitched out or something? And then I land in the water and look, and it's a ghost Leviathan swimming around. And I've never seen it before. And I'm like, oh my God. And I don't know, it wasn't scary. I don't know. It was kind of like, man,
scary,
imagine if we were all in the UAS together, and got launched in the air. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. Pretty much every moment in the game, I was like, yeah, this would be better if we were
Together.
Yeah, if the three of us were playing it. So
Right.
But
yeah, you guys did a great job selling me on that. now I want to try this kind of game together, right? Because
I was about to say our next game is definitely we got to
doing a co-op would be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might be time. Might be time to say goodnight, is what I mean.
Where to next?
We've kind of gotten close to talking about it a couple times, but just the story, the plot of the game. I think we talked about the mechanics of it and how it does do, especially early, it does a really good job, I think, of pulling you along and kind of leaving a lot of pieces that you need attached to it. So it's like, now you got to go 300 meters deep, and down there is going to be the moon pool fragment, or, there's going to be the mobile vehicle bay or whatever fragment.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's maybe we'll disagree. I found some like moments really cool, like when you first get to the quarantine enforcement platform. Like coming across your first alien structure is
So
crazy and really cool. But beyond that, I didn't find myself that compelled by it. I was not like that interested in learning more about the prehistoric people that had
Precursors.
The
the
right?
precursors.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
precursors.
forerunners. Yeah, I was trying to think of the Halo name for it. Yeah, the precursors. I don't know, like this bacteria is in me. I don't know. I wasn't that interested in it. Especially as the game went on and you got less and less pieces of it. It was more and more just you kind of almost like visual storytelling, but it's not really telling you very much.
Yeah, I compared it in my notes to, I'm pretty sure it was you, Danny, talking about Half-Life 2 on our first episode, which is you were talking about Ravenholm. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
And you were saying like you were just running around, killing everything, like not paying any attention, just having so much fun with the gravity gun, and then it's like, oh, I ended up where I was supposed to be. That's crazy that I ended up here, right? That hand above you that's guiding you without you knowing that you're being guided, which Half-Life 2 just executed in the most subliminal, inception-y way. Incredible. Like that you're always progressing the story, you're pretty much always going the right direction, but you feel like you're making decisions and you only realize that after the fact. Whereas like I think that's another big part of the story that's like missing or disjointed, and kind of what I meant when I said like it feels like separate teams just fuse their Unity files together or something, and we're like, this is our game, right? Teddy, you mentioned like you just stop getting radio transmissions, like your first 10 hours or whatever it is roughly, you're getting radio transmissions, you're doing the stuff that it's telling you to do, and then it's like, okay, 30 hours, you have 30 hours now, just explore. Haha, it's so fun, But like you get nothing. you're gated, you're confronted with gates. Again, like, I'd rather you gate me without me knowing it than gate me to my face. Like, I don't want an actual gate. I want it to feel like I'm part of the story and part of the game, not feel like I'm running into the story all the time. And I did actually think it was interesting, and I did think like the writing was cool, and I mentioned the voice logs was cool, and I think it was well acted and unique and stuff. But I just think they missed so hard on like stringing you along, was what the word you used, Danny, like keeping me invested. Whereas the majority of the game is downtime looking for resources.
Yeah, I've said this a couple times, but it's really, my experience playing this game is really broken up into moments, like my enjoyment of the game.
Yeah.
There's so much that I basically just don't even remember, or aren't even. It's like almost like a long drive, you know.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of the bends.
That's a really good description.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
like the sun, the Aurora core exploding, like amazing. When that happens, it's beautiful and you feel it. It's really cool. The sunbeam getting shot down, amazing. Finding the first alien enforcement platform, your first Leviathan. There's all these amazing. Right. It's like
the whole is lesser than the sum of its parts by a lot.
Right. Yeah.
They have a bunch of cool shit in a way too long, confusing, grindy game.
Well, also like another thing is like, well, I don't mind grinding while I'm listening to all these voice logs. Or like, why can't you play the databank audio files?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like, I'm learning about a peeper while I'm swimming along, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love doing that with the audio files you find. And like, I honestly, I loved like the Survivor story. Like, I thought that was all
awesome.
Like really cool.
Really
and, like,
cool.
And also, it's it's teaching you how to play the game, finding these things, going to their bases, and then suddenly it just stops. And
yeah.
That's it. There's no more story. Nothing else for you to do.
I did constantly also find myself being like, I wonder, maybe there's someone alive from this one. Like I kept being like, I want to see what the deal was. I definitely thought it was. I did like that.
Or I want to find more. Like I'm like, oh, maybe if I go to this area, there'll be more voice logs and it'll tell me more stuff. And I can't wait.
Right.
Yeah, I have this written down. I have like a bunch of notes about the AI helpers in general, or the AI voices.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's kind of a weird thing where it will sometimes talk to you about something you just scanned or found. And I'm sometimes like, well, I don't care about this thing. Why are you reading this to me and not, I don't know. I've scanned a bunch of things that would be cool to hear you talk about and you haven't, and sometimes it's, like there's this big conclusion drawn from scanning this thing and then other things are just totally useless. Yeah. And like it's like they might as well not be in the game.
Right. The first time you hit the edge, right, when you got flung by the ghost, detecting multiple Leviathan class life forms in the region. Are you certain whatever you're doing is worth it? Like I was like, I don't know, like, is it? Fuck, but like, yeah, like you said, there's other, I found, like I said earlier, I found every alien teleporter in the game I found before I actually activated the teleporters, and I had them all beaconed. You can't scan it? You can't, like, tell me what the hell this is? Like, you can scan everything else, and, like, you have all of these assumptions and theories of what may or may not have happened, but I found an alien base 900 meters under the Degassi Island, and you can't tell me anything about it? Like, what?
So the other thing I wanted to touch on here is the quality of production of the game. I guess the production quality of the game. And to me, it did not feel like an indie game. Like I thought that it played extremely well and really rare bugs. The only thing that did feel a little underbaked was like the being on land.
Yeah.
But again, the vast majority of your time is spent underwater, and it disincentivizes you from being on land. Right? There's just not much to do there, anyways. So I would rather them have spent more time really refining all of the water vehicles and stuff, and have I don't know, like climbing mountains be really awkward.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think it's really nice to play a game that was in early access forever and plays really smoothly and nicely, especially after getting back into PUBG recently and it's still being a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Even 5
I
years
kind of like that
later.
that being on land kind of sucked because like when you got back in the water, you're like, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
refreshing.
Yeah, exactly. So
My-
maybe
my-
it was. Yeah.
My on land note though is a yet another complaint by me, which is just you guys are modders. Just take it from another game. Isn't that what modders do? Like like just use the Doom engine. Use whatever game feels good on land engine. Like isn't that like the ethos? Like like why am I swinging my knife against this like glitchy crab that I'm not even sure if it's dead or if it just glitched out? Like just like make that, like just steal that. Like use that
Yeah.
technology or something else. But yeah, no, I agree with everything else you said for sure.
All right, you guys want to go into some of our questions?
Yeah, I feel
For
like
sure.
there's so much to talk about, but let's hit the questions.
Yeah, I could talk about this for days.
Yeah.
So Dom said, if you could make any changes to Subnautica to make it more fun for you specifically, what would it be? Multiplayer. We've already
Guns. Oh yeah, co-op
we'll
for
need
sure.
lots.
Well,
of
yeah, you
guns.
guys went in on the co-op. I mean, one of my main notes is that I keep going back to this theme of like teach me how to play the game. I don't know why, but that's just my thing, I guess. But like I wish it taught me more that then later in the game I would have had an easier time. Like I avoided building a base because I just had no interest. I mean, surely some of the playtesters of their game didn't build a base instantly, you know? I guess not, because otherwise they would have made it more clear, but just make the life pod run out of oxygen and then I'll build a base really early and then my entire experience will be better in the game because I'll have infinite storage and a scanner and all this stuff, you know? But because it wasn't incentivized, it made the game more grindy and more of a pain in the ass than it had to be, which goes back to something you said earlier, Teddy, which is, and I've verified this by like, I just occasionally will just watch people on Twitch playing Subnautica because I'm like, I wonder what they're doing. Their chat just tells them exactly what to do. No, don't do that. Build that here. And they're like, okay. And, you know, it's bullshit and it's not how I want to play a game. And I don't want to look up a game, which to me is basically the same thing. But their experience is so much better. Like they have so much of an easier time. Their Cyclops is fully powered all times. No worry about power cells ever. Like they have full gardens, multiple bases at the exact perfect locations with food, water, whatever, infinite resources. They have infinite storage.
Yeah,
And I'm
this
just
game's
like,
amazing.
yeah, they're like, oh my God, the wonder, the exploration. I'm like, you don't fucking know anything. Like you haven't even played. You're playing on fucking free mode. You're playing. What are you even doing?
It's console commands at this point.
Like this is bullshit. You know, I played. I fucking found the shit on my own.
That's awesome.
Like I took something that Teddy said to me, a kernel of information, and I turned that into a blue tablet, and I beat the game. You didn't beat the game. The average beat time is like 28 hours. Took me and Teddy 45 hours.
Yeah.
Give me a fucking break.
Right. I think that's worth dwelling on for a second. Is the average time is 28 hours. Everybody who's beating the game in 28 hours is looking things up.
1,000,000%.
100%.
There's no other way.
Yeah.
So like when people talk about this game and liking it, you know, that's great. But like there is a meta game here that they're playing, and like it's just weird.
And I chose not to play the game. So that, to answer Dom's question, that stuff could have just all been cleaned up. Like just make me build a base, make me build a scanner, make me, you know, do to make my actual experience of playing the game more fun. That's my takeaway, because the game, it's an amazing game in a lot of ways.
Just to dwell on it a little longer is I lost my first file when I reinstalled Windows because Subnautica does not have cloud save, so it's an indie game. My file ended up being 20 something, and I basically skipped the first 10 hours because that's what I had lost. Like I console commanded all of the stuff I had gotten. I had my CMOth again instantly. Right. So it was so I skipped a lot of gameplay on my final file, and it was still, close. It was only a little bit faster than the average. So
right.
If you're a purist, it will take you much longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Damon says, did you finish the game? Were there any specific world building elements or story moments that made the slog feel worth it or particularly memorable? I feel like this is basically what we've talked about.
We covered this, right? Yeah, this is an hour of podcasting.
So Damon, listen to the podcast.
But yes, we did all finish the game.
Yeah.
I think I touched on them. The sunbeam getting shot down. It's kind of amazing. You see the base start moving, and you're like, oh no.
Oh fuck.
This thing got shot down.
It reminded me of Independence Day when they're worshiping the alien ship, and then us as the viewer of the movie are like, this isn't good. And then they just open up and destroy the whole city.
Yeah, that was an epic moment.
So sick.
Yeah, but they weren't quite enough to make the slog feel worth it, I'd say.
I agree.
Especially as the game goes on. The longer the game drags
10
on.
hours in the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But definitely memorable, for sure. Yep. I have a lot of really funny, crazy stuff that I'll never forget.
I have a really, really... Well, I already said to you guys the whole is lesser than the sum of its parts, which is basically Damon's question. But then I have this really, really harsh note in my deepest of frustrations, probably 40 hours into the game, probably post Blue Tablet, honestly. And I wrote, this game is just an I can't find my keys simulator. Just the feeling of you're in your apartment, the keys aren't in their normal spot, and they're not in your pocket. Okay. I have to backtrack. Okay, are they here? I only sat at my desk, so they've got to be somewhere here. And you do that scanning, right? You're like, it's not there. Okay, it's not there. Okay, is it on my couch? Scan, no, it's not on my... And you do it, and you still don't find your keys. And then you really have to backtrack and scan again, and you just do the exact same thing. That's what this game is.
Yeah.
Wait, did I really search my desk?
Yeah, wait. It could still be on my couch.
That's by the way, we should actually make this game.
Yeah.
Or that's an amazing indie game idea.
Yeah. This is definitely Terry Kavanaugh on Roblox or something.
Yeah, it's Gone Home.
Sorry.
Oh yeah. No, we skipped Shane's question.
Oh yeah.
Or I don't know if we skipped it, but
read it.
No, I skipped it by accident.
Definitely by accident. So Milk asks, any opinions on the first-person perspective, how it lends to or detracts from this type of game? Or how does it... Any opinions on the first-person perspective and how it lends to or detracts from this type of game?
You might as well also read Tio's question because I think it's related. He said, did any moments in particular freak you the fuck out? Any VR action? I've heard the game is terrifying in VR. Did you play at all in VR, Danny? You're the only one with the headset.
I didn't play this afternoon. Okay. I wish the question had come earlier, and I definitely would have. I even though every time you launch the game, you have the option to launch in VR, I just didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But
I think it has to be in first person because basically every good moment that we've described is enhanced by being immersed in that first person. And I suspect that this would be really cool in VR. I mean, I haven't really played many VR games. I've just fucked around in the painting game and stuff like that. But it feels like the type of game that you would want VR because of everything that we've already covered to me.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of really half-baked VR versions of games that I think I figure that I'll do it for an hour and then never do it again.
Yeah,
be like, that was cool how I don't know, in the forest, it's that was cool how I physically threw the spear at enemies. I like that, and then never play in VR again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think definitely had to be first person. This I'm sure the swimming would have looked really weird, and there have been lots of really weird like interactions between your character model and the walls. So I think visually, we've talked about how good the visual immersion is, and I think that would have made it a lot worse or a lot more challenging for the developers. And even like the Cyclops, I liked having it in first person. Then I have to go to the cameras to see what's going on. So like I think that's really cool. So yeah, I think it definitely had to be in first person, and it was great.
Yeah.
I think it could have been third person. Like but it's one of these games that like seeing your character most of the time doesn't really seem to matter. Like I wish it would have been third person, like when the like jellyfish things are like hanging from the ceiling. There are like a few moments where I was like, I'm not quite sure what the physicality of the object I'm in is.
Slamming the Cyclops into things constantly.
But like also, yeah, that's like part of what's awesome about the game, right?
Yeah.
Like the Cyclops, like how far does the tail stick back? I don't really know. I hope I'm not going to hit anything. Like the light's blinking, but I think I'll be okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad it was in first person.
I think just all the things we've touched on that are very subtle and very well done, of like swimming up to a thing and scanning it, like the detail and the care that you go to when you're, oh, that's a new fish, and you get excited and have to go like right up close to it to scan it. Like that's all first person-y stuff in my opinion.
Yeah.
And maybe this is another game where you're not Gordon in this game. You're never Gordon.
You're never Gordon.
Anyways,
Emperor says, did you find the game immersive? Does Subnautica really make you feel like a person stranded on an alien water planet? I think it's both really immersive and doesn't really feel like I'm stranded on an alien planet.
Agreed.
Like I found moment to moment, I was like, whoa, like there's so much shit going on, especially in the early stages of the game. But I definitely felt like I was playing a video game for a lot of it. Like I just got to make the numbers go up and do these other things.
And there's something about having built this mega boat or mega submarine where it like no longer feels like a survival game, or like you no longer feel stranded, but yeah, like you said, the early game, and it definitely feels like it. But it ties back to what we were talking about before, kind of the clashing of genre and intent and execution. There's a lot that immerses you and a lot that pulls you out. So it just didn't quite. It's not quite, and I would not have described the game in its totality as an immersive experience.
And also the imitation real ocean. If the whole game was an alien ocean, then maybe it would have felt more like, whoa, like I'm on this insane planet or something. But when you're safe, you feel like you're on Earth. I mean, gravity is normal, food, water, ocean, sun. There's a sun, it rises, it falls. Like there's not really that much alien stuff except for the really deep stuff.
I have to say, I love the planets in the sky. That's one of those moments that
the eclipse
are just like,
also.
I don't think I ever saw an eclipse.
I didn't. So sick. They're so beautiful. Yeah, I saw one.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I'm gonna have to watch a video of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you have any moments in particular where you freaked out, like that scared you or anything? Just to put the lid on.
I mean, I had the moment I described to you guys where I really thought I was gonna die, and like that was the only moment where I was really became a survival game for me. But freak the fuck out in terms of fear, very few. I mean, it was more for me. It was like pre-fear, if that makes sense. Like I had the sensation of like my senses are heightened. Like Teddy, you described earlier, right? You're in the pitch black, you heard a sound, like I think that's a reef back, but like my ears are up, because that might be a thing coming to kill me. But I'd never had a like, like I'm so scared. I can't believe, I can't go back down there. Oh no. I never had that. But I definitely had the like, I don't know what else to call that. You know, the body signs of beginning to be scared or preparing to be scared or something.
You're priming up or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was when the dragon grabbed my prawn and I was super deep in like a new area and just like threw me into the lava. I was like, oh my God.
That sounds awesome.
So sick. That didn't happen to me. I kind of wish it did.
That thing literally didn't do anything to me.
It did nothing to me.
Yeah, I just
grappled
walked right
my
past
way
it.
to the base and was
I think I grappled it and swung. I used it to swing.
Maybe that's why it didn't touch you. It's just like
I tickled it.
He's one of our own.
Yeah, a remora.
Mine was just the first Reaper Leviathan when it grabbed me, and then I had to bail, and I was like, I have to like leave my sea moth, and then swam away.
Nice.
Sick.
It was like running a marathon. We'll be glad we did it, but there are moments where you're like, fuck, I really want to stop. Right? That's what Teddy said about Castlevania. And yeah.
How many bladderfish did you accidentally cook? Emperor asked.
So many. Also,
yeah. A lot.
Also,
I actually cooked 0, I have to say.
Nice.
Thanks to Matt, I think, because I saw that. Never happened. It never happened.
You saw that tooltip. And the fact that I have to sit at the fabricator, click water. Okay. Titanium. Give me a fucking break. Like, just throw me a bone. Respect the player and their time. You know? I have to make the filtered water or whatever, the bigger one, not just the bladderfish one. You have to make bleach. And then the only ingredient for the water is bleach. So I have to get all the ingredients, which I believe is tube coral and salt. Click bleach, then the bleach animation happens, and then go back in and click water, and then the water animation. It's like, dude, stop wasting my fucking time.
What would Steve Jobs think of that?
Yeah. He would have fired everyone who was involved with the UX. For sure.
Yeah, I think the one thing I did hilariously all the time, or really just the once, is I got all these gel sacks and I've transferred them all into my inventory, like 20 of them, so I could just like stock up on them to have them for a while. And I went to my locker and they were just all gone, or like none of them moved over. And it's because I ate all of them.
Well, so sometimes it's left click and sometimes it's right click. So good luck.
Good luck.
All right.
Yeah. So I just want to recap. I feel like it's worth doing.
Let's wrap it up somehow.
Yeah. I think I just like kind of want to read the pillars again.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. So never tell the player what to do. Let them decide. If there's something we want them to do, breadcrumb it.
Just total miss.
Yeah.
The only thing that happens for the first 10 hours of the game is being told what to do.
And
check the radio. Once you check the radio, go to the life pod. Once you go to the life pod, go back to your life pod. Check the radio, back to it. Boom. And then, so you never decide. And then the breadcrumbing also ends. As soon as you stop being told what to do, then there are basically no breadcrumbs.
Yeah, it's like just brutal.
Yeah, it's just fucking awful. No guidance whatsoever.
The world doesn't care about the player. The player is a foreigner in an unknowable, majestic alien world. This led to non-violence to creatures and the world. This leads to non-violence to creatures in the world. Yeah, okay.
That one's good. Yeah, I think you nailed that.
Yeah. Respect the player and their time. Don't manipulate them through achievements, dopamine, extrinsic rewards. Give them an amazing, rewarding experience that takes effort.
The middle section, the achievements. I was definitely not driven by achievements.
Nope.
Yeah, like I built a cool room on my Cyclops because it was cool. I also had plans because they had game mechanic reasons. There weren't extrinsic rewards, right? So there are a lot of those things that they do well.
Mm-hmm.
They don't respect your time
at all.
And the intrinsic rewards are just not that great.
Yeah, they're fine. They're just normal game.
Yeah,
things.
normal game shit. Yeah. I mean, I have pages of notepads that are just full of Subnautica stuff.
That's
'Cause
awesome.
I don't know, maybe I just have, the brain of a fish, but like when I'm making something, if I'm making something or there's some component that I need to make, I check my tablet 50 times minimum. Like I just can't remember like this many copper, this much gold, this much, kyanite, and this, blah, 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 blah. So I'm just check. And I just got sick of it because the UI is so bad. I can't like have it up anywhere.
Yeah.
So I would just write it by hand. I need 5 copper, 8 titanium, like 2 salt, glass, whatever. And so and that made my game, this is like sort of related to the Dom question. That made my game experience more fun because I didn't have to just constantly stop swimming and check my tablet. And instead I could just check my handwritten thing, but they could have just done that with it's the future and I have a tablet that's like conscious. Like,
Right,
can it remember what I'm building?
And that's the thing. It's like almost some of that stuff is there half of the time, right? It's like weird. Like I don't mind keeping a journal when I'm playing a game, like, but I like when it feels like authentic rather than like, I don't know, kind of a hassle. But.
Yeah. They did not respect our time, for sure.
Yeah, and if I can harp back to something I said at the beginning, also, like I really liked the game. I had a great time with it overall, and I love playing a complete and really good, solid indie game. I'm really psyched that they pivoted so far from what they had made before.
Yeah,
like literally no connection whatsoever to natural selection, other than the space, like kind of the architecture, the space architecture, and the existence of aliens. So yeah, it's easy to complain about a lot of things, but yeah, I'm really glad the game was made. It's in the state that it's in, and that it's been as successful as it has been. Clearly,
Right,
like a ton of effort.
I'm a piece of shit, right? Like,
yeah,
this sold 5 million copies, and it's like, I saw a Reef back, and that was fucking awesome,
Yeah.
So.
And we probably should have mentioned this at the beginning. It's not that dissimilar to the Doom episode where there is a sequel. It just came out months ago, like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
I haven't played it. I haven't even seen it. Like there could be all of these things could not be in it. They could have heard all of this negative feedback, alongside a lot of positive feedback and been like, cool, let's make an even better game. And maybe it is, but we played the original and we had a lot of problems with it.
There's no multiplayer in Below Zero, so
not worth playing.
Yeah.
Cool, guys.
Cool. Well, it's nice knowing you. We'll pipe in next game.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Bye.
Love you guys. Thanks
You
for
too.
listening.
Yep.
Love you all.
For the next Game Club episode we will be playing Metal Gear Solid 1 from 1998. Happy gaming.